Namaste, galactic family and diamond sun hearts. I went outside this morning and saw the diamond sun. So I just wanted to give a shout out to all of the diamond sun human grail lines and just welcome everyone back to my channel, Indigo Angel. If you are new, come on into this dimension. I hope that you enjoy the cosmic content here. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And if you're returning, don't forget to hit that notifications bell so you can continue to receive my messages and comment and share these videos always if you're resonating with the content here, and so others can find out about my work as well. And as always, thank you for your continued love and support of my channel. And as some of you know, I have just kind of been in and out of posting videos up on YouTube. I've kind of been off for about 2 weeks. And some of you know why. It's because I just really went on a big journey. As of lately, I moved from Denver, Colorado to Southern Alabama. And so it just became very necessary for me to move, for me and my family, as Colorado, I think overall has just been changing so dramatically. For some time, the state itself, I feel, has been honestly been pushing me out since prior to 2019, but 2019 was when everything really hit, and it just became obviously clear that I was to relocate out of state. And it's just because honestly, the cost of living in Colorado currently, because, you know, as we became the first state to legalize marijuana, essentially everyone just started moving to Colorado. And then as a lot of the fires got worse in California, everyone started moving into Colorado. So the economy just boomed there. And so it's very costly to live there now. I believe the cost of living is second to California. And honestly, the vibe there is just, it feels a lot like California at this time. Not that I don't love California, because I do love California. I have a beautiful soul sister there, Miss Amy Wallace. If you're watching, shout out to you, who we filmed a Stargate activation on the Trinity Gate sites together at Malibu Beach, California. She did some amazing fire dancing in that video, and I just had the best time. That video, I actually just recently uploaded it to my Facebook page, my Instagram, and my BitChute account. If you want to watch that, it was a group session to basically anchor in the Christed energy into the Trinity Gate, because it is one of the most hijacked gates in terms of soul harvesting and all of the siphoning of like soul loosh and all of those things that's happening at those Trinity Gate sites. And you can just really see it when you're in California, how hijacked the collective fields are there. So it's very interesting to tune into that, those of you who know what the Trinity Gate sites are. But essentially, I just had the best time there with Amy and 2 other soul sisters that helped me bring forth that activation at those gate sites. So I'm getting off topic, but what I'm trying to say is I absolutely love California, but I feel overall I have more of a wholesome vibe. I feel more called energetically to, I guess, the morality that maybe the southern states hold, the old school values and morals and traditions. I mean, that calls to me on some level, the warmth that I feel in the South. My life path is always navigating towards the South. In my Mayan astrology, I am a in a southern position, and so my destiny is to ripen. So it's just natural that I'm called to the south. And honestly, my spirit has been pushing me to get closer to consistent warmer weather and the ocean. So where I am now, I am about 2 hours from the Gulf Coast and Orange County Beach. So I am just so excited to explore the nature here, get down to the ocean. Hopefully I'll be doing some filming down there for my patrons, most likely, and really get to explore here. It's very green. It's been so warm every day. It seems so full of life. There are like ponds and rivers everywhere, lots of critters. I believe the home mascot in the city that I am is the Hornets. And that's one thing that I noticed in terms of critters and like insects is obviously the bugs are a lot bigger here. I've already seen maybe 3 or 4 different types of wasps. So it's just very interesting how I've kind of been called into this wasp energy, as it's very hydran to carry that wasp encryption as well. So I just feel that this was the right move for me at this time. And I'll be residing down here at least for a year. I may want to go further south at some point, maybe go further into Florida. We'll just have to see how I like it here. It's an adventure. And, and I think that as star seeds, we do better overall health wise, being closer to the ocean and closer to the equator. The more northern, drier, colder climates really seem to exacerbate those ascension symptoms overall. I've been feeling intuitively, because every time that I would travel to Egypt or Mexico, just being in the warmth and the humidity, that it would ease a lot of the ascension discomfort that I was having. So, and I do also know too, like if you're someone who's struggling with MS, that it is recommended that you move closer to the equator, that it actually heals MS. So for those who are highly sensitive to ascension, to chemicals, to everything, all of your empathic subtlety senses, you're going to do a lot better being in a southern location and closer to the equator. So, and I know a lot of you that I've talked to recently are also considering relocating as well. So I just have to say that if you feel intuitively that that is the right move for you, to relocate, because there is a great migration that's going on here in the United States at this time. A lot of the Californians are moving into Colorado and into Arizona, and a lot of the people in Colorado and Arizona are moving into Texas and into Florida. So that's just overall kind of happening on a collective level. A lot of the same stories are playing out right now. So if you feel like that's something you've been considering, I say that you should definitely work towards your goal. That yes, the move is somewhat stressful and it is somewhat costly to transport your things, but if you can minimize your stuff and you can kind of get new things when you get there, the cost goes down somewhat. So I've basically really settled into my new house. This is my office that you're seeing right now behind me. I got all of my office stuff set up here. And yeah, so you'll be seeing me film here more, maybe do some interesting backdrops at some point, and shake it up, shift it up. Who knows where my creativity is going to go now that I have my own space to be creative in, because before I was piled into my auntie's house, which I absolutely loved being there with her. And I'm so thankful that she gave me a place to stay for the time that she did. But it was just kind of time to move on, as I am a big energy and I need a lot of creation space for the things that I do. So I'm so excited to be here. And yeah, guys, so today we're going to actually, enough rambling about myself, right? Today we're going to actually get into a very powerful planetary cosmic grid update. This honestly has been coming to me since I did the Arcturian starseed reading when I was talking about the Ark of the Covenant. So it's been stewing in my mind for about 3 weeks, everything that I'm going to present today. So this cosmic grid update is for May 7th, 2021. We have the new moon on May 11th. This is going to be in Taurus. So we're going to be planetarily and through the alignments, we're going to be finishing up with that Aldebaran markers, Hyades, and we're going to be getting to go into Orion planetary frequencies more towards the end of this month. We just went through the 555 portal, as many of you already know, and we have the Schumann resonance that's currently spiked right now. So you'll notice that your ascension symptoms right now might be exacerbated. Everything that's playing out in your reality right now, it feels somewhat over dramatized. Emotions may be very hard to and difficult to get through at this time, just because as the Schumann spikes, it just intensifies everything that we are going through. So I do believe we have that spike for a couple more days. We're going to be in that massive whiteout zone, and we're just going to be needing to do a lot more self-care at this time, more focusing on sometimes the simple things, eliminating things that are just unnecessary, and kind of getting down to the simplicity and more meditation. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now, is I'm holding that high vibration through those whiteout spikes, just really focusing transcendence in the moment, and I'm not allowing myself to think negatively too often. So really focusing on positive thoughts seems to get me through those times. And if I have trouble with that, I always just ask my guides to take negative thoughts out of my mind. And it's almost always immediate when I ask for that. So maybe that's something that can help you if you're having difficulty clearing negative thoughts. And it's hard sometimes to recognize those patterns. It's hard to recognize when we are in a state of negative thinking, because it becomes almost normal and repetitive. But if you can realize that the reason why you might be feeling down is because of negative thoughts, just ask your guides to remove them out of your head. And it's just as simple as that. And I mean, because the universal language wants to love and wants to ascend. And so it will respond immediately to assisting with the creation of higher frequency. Now, we're going to get into this grid that we're going to discuss today. I feel that this is an extension grid that operates off or in cohesiveness with the Seagate or the Blackwater project. And so this grid basically works in cohesiveness to several other grid systems, which are those overlay networks that extend from particular Akashic timelines, such as the Lemurian or the Atlantean timelines. But this one today really does work with that Blackwater project. So I'm going to get into more of that in this update today, but not to confuse things. So if you don't know what Seagate or the Blackwater project is, you just want to see my most recent video, and I'll leave the links in the description. It's called the Orion Galactic Energy Update that I just put out on my channel. It is regarding the Stargate of Aden. Okay, so the Stargate of Aden is an underwater Orion Nibiru Stargate that's essentially used as a passageway that galactic Orion royals may be using for several covert missions, top secret quantum exchanges, galactic transport of royals, UFO activity, and defense stations from galactic invasions. And so the Nibiru Orion royals and Anunnaki royals are all using this Stargate. This is why this is highly a militarized Stargate on the Earth through the global Navy fleets, and it ties deeply into the secret space program and operations that they are running there at the Stargate of Aden. And so all of this at the end of the day, ties in through the Aryan occultists, the Aldebaran Draco Nazis, the Freemasons, the CIA intelligences, the Zeta operations, the monarchies, the Templars, and secret societies, and the United Kingdom and Germanic supported CERN. So it's basically a draconian supported CERN. I mean, that's kind of me just saying that, but I mean, it seems as if it ties in to that. Because as we know, the UK and Germany are the two most countries supported by draconian affiliations, and the UK and Germany are the biggest financial supporters of the CERN operation. So you can actually find that on the CERN website, I believe, where they list their highest supporting financial contributors by country. And so, you know, the British kind of really have their hands in almost everything, even in this grid update today. It is the British philosophers and aristocrats that have been the ones consistently crazy enough since the 1900s to keep trying to pay off the Israeli officials to mine and dig for the Ark of the Covenant that's they believe to be under the Noble Stone in Jerusalem. And so they've been seeking this for a long time. Could you imagine if the Ark of the Covenant actually fell into their hands? They would definitely be using that for experimentation through CERN operations. The British philosophers, I can't remember the names of the guys, some of them who have tried and failed. I believe it was maybe a guy named Charles Warren and a guy named Parker. I know there is one intense account of these two guys, I think in the 1900s, that just failed every time that they tried to attempt to dig up the Ark of the Covenant by the faithfuls of the Ark that resided there. They guarded the Noble Stone. And so every time they'd be down there digging, they would alert. And they went to extreme measures to try and locate the Ark down there. They would dress up in disguises. They would try to mine it in the middle of the night. And, you know, they paid off, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars to try to go in there and mine and excavate for the Ark of the Covenant. But essentially, the faithfuls there, they did ban against them to expose them. And so it caused a bunch of drama in Israel for the longest time. I believe other people tried to go in and do it as well, but never ever got very far in excavating underneath the Holy of Holies, is what the Noble Stone is actually called. But they never found it. They never came up with it because it's essentially being protected from getting in the hands of CERN, I feel, overall, and negative agendas by the Merovingian and the Melchizedek bloodlines, which are those higher Christ bloodlines that come through seedings that actually came through the Ark of the Covenant. The Ark of the Covenant was an open portal for these particular bloodlines to come in and seed. Definitely the British want the Ark. Why do they want the Ark? You know, it has incredible God powers. It was one of the only material things that was supposedly descended from God for man to create. So it's just a very important, powerful relic. It's supposedly, you know, you can't even open it. You can't even, you know, look into it or even get close to it because it's so powerful that it will even like kill you or give you like instantaneous disease. There's stories and records of this happening to people throughout time that actually got close to it or tried to open the Ark itself. But essentially, I'm going to go ahead and pull up my Scribbles map for you guys today so you can see everything that I'm going to talk about. And we're going to dive into this cosmic grid update. So I'll just go ahead and share the screen. Okay, so, and again, I'm going to place my head over here in the corner. Sometimes it cuts my head out. But okay, so this is what I've drawn up for this cosmic grid update. But essentially, actually, let me go back because I want to show you the clip that I use in the Orion Galactic Energy Update, so you can see the Stargate of Aden. So I'm going to share that instead really fast. I'll just go ahead and screen share this picture because I'm not able to pull this particular picture up in a screen share for some reason. But essentially, in this picture, this was what I used in my last Galactic Energy Update. This is the real battleship Stargate of Aden. You can see the Gulf of Aden here. This is where the Orion Stargate entrance is located. This is what is highly guarded by the Navy fleets. They actually have underwater barriers that ships will hide behind, Stargate ships, missile ships. So no fluffy stuff is going down here. This Stargate is about as serious as it's going to get here in the Stargate of Aden. This is where there is secret galactic government running galactic witness protection programs to and from Mintaka. So people who are under protection in the Mintakan Galactic Council, and this is a lot of Orion Nibiru royals that are transported through this Stargate. I actually think that they are using the leverage of the Andromedan time passage here as well to basically piggyback off of this energy current and use the power to and from Orion. And so there's a lot of things that are happening here. You can see clearly that this is a very unique entrance point into the landmass between Yemen, Ethiopia, Eritrea, Saudi Arabia, Sudan, Egypt, Jordan, Israel. I mean, this water passage really takes you right into the Holy Lands. So the reasons why they use the Blackwater Project is, for one, they have the Anunnaki spaceport here in the Sinai. Now, according to Zachariah Sitchin, like that spaceport is no longer operatable, but you know, who really knows if it is or isn't? I say that they have just found more discreet ways of entering and exiting these systems, particularly, like I said, most likely they're coming in underwater, and there's underground tunnels that would lead to the Anunnaki Stargate location at the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. So the Temple Mount in Jerusalem is the Anunnaki Stargate. So that would lead up underneath to tunnels to the Noble Stone. So through this galactic canal, the Red Sea, this is a galactic canal. The Gulf of Aden, this is a galactic canal. This provides essentially a safe route for entering and exiting underground tunnels and cities and all their underwater travels here. Hence the discrepancy for the witness protection programs that they have. So, but I also think one of the most major things that they have going on here that has not been acknowledged, that's what this update is about. I feel this is a very important message to deliver to you guys, is that they are using this Stargate for secret visits to and from the Ark of the Covenant. So I'm going to exit out of this picture here, and I'm going to bring up my Scribbles map. Okay, guys. So here we go. Screen share. Okay. So you can see this is my Ark of the Covenant grid. And what you see here is I've highlighted Ethiopia. And ultimately this red line here, guys, so you see this red line that I have that goes all the way extensively around Africa through the Stargate of Aden, up through the Red Sea, all the way through the Mediterranean Sea, and then back to the North Atlantic Ocean, down to the South Atlantic Ocean, and up around and through Madagascar, through the Indian Ocean. Essentially, this red line here marks the route I'm just going to make sure my head's in the picture here. But this marks the route that King of Solomon took exploring the coast of Africa. So King of Solomon really solidified this route. And I do believe this ultimately was to place fifth dimensional security seals from accessing this grid, from accessing the Ark of the Covenant. So they placed shields all around the coast of Africa to protect the Ark of the Covenant, which is why I feel that there is a ton of legend of the Ark leaving Africa. So, I mean, even if you just Wikipedia the Ark of the Covenant and you click on the locations button, they're going to have places listed such as Rome, such as Ireland, even Tutankhamun's tomb. They believed it was there, which is still in Africa. But, you know, places like Rome and Ireland, I personally, after really diving into the research here, don't feel like it's ever left Africa. And it's because of the King of Solomon seals that was placed all around this red line of Africa. So Africa is highly shielded and protected by the races that incarnated through the Ark of the Covenant. For one, the Melchizedeks, the Anu Melchizedeks, the Merovingians, and particular Stargate lineages that came through as guardians that were portions of soul extensions from the cherubim and the seraphim. Essentially, they came and placed these seals. But I really feel maybe it never really truly has ever left Africa because of the seals of Solomon, because it's nestled here in Ethiopia in the eyes of the rhino, the eyes of the rhino African heart, and it's guarded by the Centaurian Orions. So the Centaurian starseeds, the Stargate location also plays a huge role in the Ark of the Covenant. I've always felt that the Centaurians have played a role in any aspect of consciousness that has came through the metagalactic core, that they're the guardians of these types of really, really super important things. And they've also have been working extensively with Orion since the beginning of human existence. So Orions and Centaurians have gone hand in hand for quite some time. But essentially, this grid that extenuates from the Stargate of Aden is the Ark of the Covenant grid. And it encompasses the heart frequency of Africa. It encompasses the African blue flame that hosts that central planetary vertical ascension column pillar, that 0 degree, that 0 point field that would run those flames most powerfully. Okay, Africa is holding the majority of the landmass to this. So I say the African blue flame that comes down the planetary universal tree of life that is actually in Norway. So I'm hovering over this here. This is the Rondane Mountains. This is where the planetary universal tree of life is located. Okay, that also too is riding that 0 point planetary vertical ascension column as well. Okay, so this grid consists of the entire country of Ethiopia, where the Ark most likely resides, because I don't know for sure. All I can go off of is the research that I have done, and I'll leave a lot of that extensively in the descriptions for you guys to go and vet out the information yourself, get your own conceptualization of what this looks like. And like I said, I say most likely because of all the historical dirty laundry and lookalikes that have basically took place. You know, I think there was a real Indiana Jones type treasure quest for the Ark. So, you know, there's been a lot of distortion. There's been a lot of manipulation, people trying to create lookalikes and deception that's taken place about its whereabouts. So, but I do feel after getting into the research that the Ark resides most likely here in Ethiopia, in a place called Aksum, Ethiopia. And so the country holding the landmass memory and encoding to the ark since prior to the 10th century is Ethiopia. And a good read on this stuff, so if you're looking for the literature, is The Sign and the Seal by Graham Hancock. And it's a good reference because he actually goes to Aksum, Ethiopia, and meets at the place where the Ark of the Covenant is supposedly held. He actually speaks with the guardian of the Ark, and he basically documents his experience, which is very detailed. He went to actually almost all of the locations that the Ark supposedly was and researched extensively about this. So it is a very good reference on the history of the Ark of the Covenant. But in this grid, we also have Lake Tana. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in because all of this is really important because of how the landmass holds the memory fields to the Ark of the Covenant. So Lake Tana is where the Ark was concealed for 800 years. Okay, so I believe that's Aksum, and this is Lake Tana. Okay, so basically it's important because any site that has contained the Ark will still hold its memory imprint into the landmass memory that extenuates into the spiritual soul collectives and running reality fields for activation. And then we also have, of course, Aksum, where the Ark currently is held and safeguarded by the Ethiopian priest, by one priest who has been given permission to guard it, and his name is Gebra Mikhail. And it was so interesting. I wanted to run a birth chart for him because I wanted to see if he was Alpha Centaurian, Orion. I wanted to see if he was transmitting from possibly Vega Lyra. That was what I kept picking up on psychically, intuitively, was Vega Lyra. But I could not find his birthday. So it's clearly, not on the internet for specific reasons. His identity is probably kept very much more in secrecy. But the Ark itself is in a sanctuary called the Ark of the Covenant at Aksum. And why it's here, I did state this in my last Arcturian update, it's here because King of Solomon was the one who had it during his reign. And he essentially got it on with the Queen of Sheba. And they had a son named Menelik who came, and basically once he was of age, like 20 years old, he came and visited his father, King of Solomon. And whether he took it or whether King of Solomon gave it to him to protect it. But essentially he ended up with it. And then he actually became the first ruler of the Solomonic Empire of Ethiopia. And they have supposedly protected the Ark of the Covenant ever since. So that's how the Ark actually made it into Ethiopia. But why this story could possibly also ultimately be false is just the amount of catastrophes that happened during the falls of Solomon's temples. So there was a lot of invasions at that time. It's always speculation that something different could have happened, but the Ethiopians say it was removed during Solomon's reign. So it must have been a message from the guardians to actually come and remove that prior to the devastation and destruction that took place to keep it safe, right? So this grid overall also consists of the mother Ark locations globally, because the Ark of the Covenant grid is the host to all of the technology of the ancient Aquilian builder races, hence which the Ark grid also powers the Aquilian grid overlay. So I told you about those other networks that it tunes into. It tunes into the Aquilin network, and also the Four Quadrant Hybridization Society. Because if you look at the national animal of Ethiopia, what they have on their coat of arms is the lion. And the lion is one of the faces of the four faces of man, which ties into that Four Quadrant Hybridization Society, all of the four royal stars, and also all of the other Stargate locations that ultimately hold that feline imprint as well. So the Ark of the Covenant hosts all of this. It hosts all of the original 7 ancient races of Lemuria, ultimately because this tip of Africa here also connected into the land bridges that connected into ancient Lemuria. And this Stargate site, so I'll say Aksum, Ethiopia, is definitely an Ark of the Covenant Stargate site. And this hosts the matrix that transmits to Andromeda. And this is why earlier in the update, I stated that I do feel that certain facets of Mintaka government and council and Orion and Nibiru council is siphoning off of the Andromedan Passages points for power. But essentially the Ark of the Covenant, this is where the 10 commandments originally came from, was the Andromedan. So the 10 commandments are in the Ark of the Covenant itself in a stone tablet. But essentially those commandments descended and were gifted from Andromeda that visited Moses. Now they say it was from God himself. But I do feel that the Andromedans played a part in this, that the Andromedans also visited Moses with the cherubim and the seraphim. And this is something that I've channeled intuitively, so take it how you want. But essentially, I feel the Andromedans have always been very clear when I tune into their collective field transmissions, that they have always been very adamant about the fact that they take the role of moral human behavior, all of these types of orders on the earth, that they essentially bring forth this consciousness. And they explain it to me that this is why the Andromedans are the keepers of the violet flame, that they are the keepers of all moral human behavior on the earth through the 10th density fields for the 10 commandments. And they uphold that planetary monadic rod and staff, essentially teaching Moses to build the ark with the assistance of the cherubim and the seraphim and God and the guardians. And this was essentially to restore the 13th dimensional avatar matrices and the pillars on the earth. And sorry, guys, my phone was just ringing, but that essentially restores and links into all of the mother ark gate sites on the planet. So that's why I have them here on my map today. And I have labeled all of these in light blue. So the locations here are, I will show you the locations. We have Adair, Ireland. We have Stonehenge. We have Seattle, Washington. We have Manhattan. We have Bali, Uluru. This is probably the most famous mother ark gate that really is activated the most through ceremony. Phoenix, Arizona, Bermuda Triangle, Antarctica, Baghdad, and Newgrange, and Cornwall in the UK. So these are all of the known mother ark gate sites. And these sites, I'll leave a link in the description to where you can find these Stargate locations as well. But I do feel that there are way more mother ark Stargates all over the globe, that these are just PowerPoints that are doing more popular transduction that humans are aware of, that there's a lot more subatomic things that are taking place as well. This grid also consists of the ark Stargates themselves. So there are actual just Ark of the Covenant stargates. And this would be Arkansas, Arkell, Netherlands. We have Arklow, Ireland, Arkansas City in Kansas. I believe this is Kansas. Let's see. Yeah, Arkansas City in Kansas. And then we have Arcadia in Poland. Okay. And so these sites are also tuning into the frequency of the Ark of the Covenant. And that's why the Ark is in the name itself. And last but not least, this grid consists of the Rondane Mountains. And so, I'm my head here. So this is a Stargate location that houses the Polarian Gate. So this hosts basically the planetary sacred tree of life. This gate facilitates the Akashic fields of the first root races, the Hyperboreans. This is like a portal system that goes into the 11th dimension. It's called the Yggdrasil, and I know I'm going to slaughter that name. But essentially, this comes from Norse cosmology. And this is the immense and central sacred tree that includes 9 worlds. And the tree is centered and straight to the magnetic north, and straight into the Polarian Gate itself, straight into the cosmos. So this Ark of the Covenant grid extenuates into the universal tree of life of the planet, into the magnetic north, into the Polarian Gates, and into the Aurora time continuum passages, and into Andromeda itself. And this is how the Ark actually descended to Earth, was through this structure of planetary interdimensional navigation. Okay, so this is crazy, guys. This is like beautiful and magic. This is the specific gateway where, like I said, the Andromedan gateway opens up, but also where all the interface mechanics is taking place with the Ark of the Covenant. It's basically a time portal passage between the Ark stargates and Andromeda. And the Arcturians themselves are also deeply a part of this as well. And that's why I feel it came up in my last reading that I put out. And what is interesting, what I've noticed, okay, is if you follow the mother arc stargates, looking at my map here, if you follow these mother arcs and into the arc stargates themselves, what does this look like here? You see? What does that look like? You can visibly see an arc that follows all of these gates. Okay, it's like a boomerang almost that just sits over the top of Africa. So yeah, it's very interesting. Very interesting. I also put the dome rock on here as well. Let's see where I put that. Maybe I didn't chart dome rock. Let's see, maybe we can chart it now. Dome rock of the Jerusalem. So let's go ahead and place a marker there, because that's important on this grid. Okay, so the dome rock in Jerusalem, the foundation of the stone of the world where Solomon's temple was built. The ark was placed here for about 3,000 years before it vanished. So this is a very important site. A lot of transmissions is taking place between several of these locations globally to function the correct arc frequencies. Okay, so this is one of the most important planetary places in terms of Sumerian and Anunnaki and Nibirian history, which is ultimately a part of almost everyone's history here on Earth and the collective. We're all pretty much collectively Anunnaki starseeds. I also labeled the Al-Aqsa Mosque because this was the Knights Templar headquarters. So let me see if I can find this really quick. Believe this, nope, that's Mount Nebu. What I have here. No, that's, hang on guys. Dome Rock. Oh, okay, the mosque here. So I have that highlighted. Okay, so I have the Al-Aqsa Mosque because this was the Knights Templar headquarters in the 12th century. So this is a very important place. And supposedly they also might have kept the Ark here for some time. So even if the Ark came out of Africa, it only ventured to Jerusalem for some time before coming back. And then it later got moved to underneath Dome Rock in Jerusalem, the Holy of Holies, the place considered where creation itself began, the foundation of the stone of the world where Solomon's temple was built. The ark was placed here for 3,000 years, like I said before, it vanished, and was sealed underneath those secret passages of Dome Rock, the noble rock that leads into passages into the center of the earth. And so this also may be a destination location for those traveling galactics, like I said, as they're coming in and out of that Stargate of Aden and the Red Sea, those portal passages that they have going on here. And it's always amazing to me how one thing always leads to another. I never would have realized how they could potentially be accessing the Ark of the Covenant and how immense this actually was until I actually started paying attention to the Stargate of Aden in my last galactic Orion energy update. If I hadn't looked deeper into that Stargate, I wouldn't have made these connections. And so everything is always kind of pushing me into the next thing and why it's all interrelated and interconnected. And that gate is so heavily guarded because just on the other side of this Stargate portal is one of the most precious relics of human history. Okay, that's why this is also important, is that just on the other side of this Stargate is the Ark of the Covenant. And I mean, just look at this map, you guys. Like, this is crazy. It's just crazy. It's clear that this Stargate is an access point to the Ark, with Ethiopia just being right around the corner here. And through this Stargate, they can basically generate power from the Ark of the Covenant. If it gets into the hands of the negatives, they're going to want to beam into the Ark and basically alter the biosphere of the planetary Blu-ray field. They're also going to want to beam into it and siphon off of the core of the planet, because the Ark is also accessing the race morphogenetic field of the planet. And it's by sending, what they're going to do is they're going to want to send those electromagnetic pulse frequencies into it and experiment on it, wanting to use it as a power source, right? And this is the same experimental control freak crap type stuff that they messed with back in the Atlantean time before Atlantis sunk. So this may be the same type of experimental technology or intentional manipulative technology, how they sunk Atlantis. So this is a very powerful Earth grid, and it's a very fundamental subatomic Earth grid. This is an underlying subatomic grid that would be foundational to that Aquilon network, to that Great White Lion network. Okay. This is so powerful. It basically protects the Earth consciousness. This opens up gateway interfaces into Andromedan Passageways. This restores moral human behavior on Earth. So the opening of the Ark is actually beneficial to humankind because it returns the Holy Mother to Earth, and it basically pulls the Earth out of the quarantine frequencies, which I spoke about in more detail in my last Arcturian Starseed Origin reading. I spoke about all of the ways in which Earth was in those quarantine frequencies, from the pandemic to the depopulation campaigns, taking those kill shots, right? and all the way to Earth essentially being locked out of communication with its galactic communities, right? And they're doing that through the satellites that are being launched, all of those things, right? That's actually preventative to the organic ways in which we communicate with our galactic communities. So the arc needs to be opened for all of this quarantine frequency entrapment that the Earth is under to be lifted. If it opens, essentially ascension will be more available to more people, but more people have to reach that fifth dimensional strand of the DNA for the arc to open. Hence, the next 12-year Blu-ray descent and reconfiguration from 2021 to 2033 that I keep seeing and I keep saying. I don't know if it's catching on, but I keep seeing the Blu-ray being shown to me over the course of that time. The arc may open sometime during that stellar cycle. Okay, so these are my personal predictions, but this is what I keep seeing, and it's all through this very potent, powerful passageway here on the Earth. Like I said, it's a subatomic grid field. It's the most encoded. It's the most sealed. And I can see now why all of this came to me prior to working on putting together that seal removal that I wanted to do regarding the Aryan occultists and the Nazism and the Black Sun of all those seals that were placed. I now see that it starts with the King of Solomon seals. So there's a reason why all of this came to me. And so basically, it's all just revealing itself more and more. And so I look forward to doing that. I look forward to putting that session together. It's just going to take some time because I have to ultimately understand fundamentally what and how and why everything interlinks into one another, so I can make sure that what I'm putting together is organic and is the right thing, essentially. But yeah, guys, so I hope you enjoyed this Cosmic Grid update today. I will be back with more videos. I've been picking up on some Hydra readings and Starseed Origin readings I'll probably dive into over the next week. And I love you all so much. Feel free to visit my website, indigoangel222.com. Sign up for my newsletter, as I do post specials and deals in those newsletters for my sessions and services. Also keep you up to date with most of my recent cosmic research, putting out that monthly newsletter. And then feel free to join me for interactive services. One of my best sessions is my Advanced Avatar Master Practices session. And this is where we interactively go into quantum mechanics and then do a lot of DNA attunements to rapidly expand consciousness and get you on that advanced avatar level. Also offer the J seal removal as well. And yeah, guys, so I would love to work with you more interactively. Again, you can find all of my services, indigoangel222.com. And please feel free to join me on Patreon, patreon.com/indigoangel, as most of all of my in-depth energy work and cosmic attunements according to energy mechanics are all up on my Patreon. So please join me there if you would like to dive into the shenanigans. And I love you all so much. Namaste. Have a beautiful everything.